both Steph Curry and Victor Wembanyama might have the biggest impacts on their team across the league, but they do it on opposite ends. First, defensively, with Wemby on the floor, offense's effective field goal percent drops by an average of 11%. But then, on the opposite side of the ball with Steph, Golden State's EFG jumps by 7.5%. So naturally, in this Warriors and Spurs matchup, something had to give. Would Wemby's all-time great defense be too much for the Warriors to handle? Or is the Steph Curry offense still one of the most durable systems in the league? Now, in the first quarter, the clear game plan by Golden State was to find ways to pull Wemby outside of the paint, and they did this by involving him in all their actions, either by pulling him up in pick and roll, or having Draymond Green initiate the offense. They're going to use him here as a passing hub at the top of the key, and that gives Curry all this space to curl around the screen, catch in the paint, and set up this open corner three.
Jimmy Butler with the corner.
On this play, Green is going to set the screen at half court. And look how that pulls Victor out beyond the three. And Curry is going to get Castle out of position with a slight change of pace off the dribble to then hit the turbo button and slice to the rim. And I also love how the rookie Will Richard cuts through to carve out more space. And then what separates Steph from other stars is that he doesn't really need space to score. As long as he gets just a little bit of breathing room, he can turn nothing into something.
Steph kind of an excuse me three.
Now, in the first half, Golden State began to run into some issues when Wemby stopped respecting Draymond as a shooter by just parking himself in the paint and giving up these standstill jumpers. And in general, if Wemby's hovering around the basket, your offensive shot quality is going to plummet. And the thing is with Victor, he can both protect the paint and affect shots on the perimeter. This play here is kind of nuts, where he's first going to sit in the paint to close off his drive, and from behind the elbow, he can still close out and get a piece of this jumper. All these issues really got magnified when Steph first subbed out, where through that 5-minute stretch, the Warriors couldn't get anything going towards the basket. And this was a combination of Wemby hovering around the paint, plus them not really forcing breakdowns. At the backcourt and wing positions, the Spurs are pretty versatile, so they could just switch actions and guard you straight up. And this is obviously much more doable if you have an all-time great rim protector behind you. Now, during this stretch, the Warriors did find some success playing through Jimmy Butler. Besides Steph, I think he's easily their most reliable one-on-one shot creator. And if they got it matched up on Wemby, they could also use him to pull him out of the paint. As he rips towards the baseline here and kicks it out, he's going to immediately come off his pin down screen. And this again pulls Victor outside of the paint and gives Green room to cut. Now, halfway through the second quarter, we got to see the reverse effect, where Wemby got subbed out and Steph subbed back in. And this is where Golden State easily had their most consistent offense. First, they were really targeting Luke Cornett in pick and roll, and Steph has a habit of just destroying your typical drop defender. If you give him too much space, he obviously has the pull-up three. But then if you press up, he's also got the quickness and ball control to burn you off the bounce. And then around the basket, he has underrated strength and really good touch. They were also able to get Curry activated off the ball. Stephon Castle here gets on his backside in preparation to fight over a pin down, but Steph just takes that angle and runs through this pass and slices to the rim. This is vintage Golden State offense here, where the weak side defense is worried about Steph coming off an off-ball action, and the paint is wide open for dribble penetration.
Goes around him, Moses with it.
Now, I also think Stephon Castle deserves a big shout out for his defense. Obviously, Steph finished with 46, but he for sure made him work throughout the course of the game. He was speeding him up into tough shots out of pick and roll, plus making Steph work to create space off the ball, and that's all you can really ask for. Now, when Victor subbed back in, it was right back to the formula of putting him in the action to pull him outside the paint. And again, because he can cover a ridiculous amount of ground, Steph had to capitalize on every window that he had. Look how Victor again is not really respecting Draymond on the perimeter, but Steph still finds space to cut into the middle and put up this sky hook right on the catch.
Steph in the lane, a little running hook.
Now, even though Golden State found some success in the first half, they were still trailing, and it felt like San Antonio kind of had control of the game. But the immediate adjustment Steve Kerr made was to just put the ball in Curry's hands even more. First, they were really going at Wemby in pick and roll, which is something literally nobody does. But like we all know, Steph's skill set is pretty unique. If Victor wasn't stepping up towards the level, that's pretty much a guaranteed 3 points. But then if he actually stepped up to meet him, he did have a hard time containing Curry off the bounce. Look how he's going to skate out to pull Wemby up. Then he drops down to attack the top foot. And what's wild is that Wemby's knee is as high as other defenders' shoulders, but Steph still gets past the top foot to then plant and come back towards the middle, and he's going to play off 2 feet and draw this foul in the paint. He's again able to get the step past Victor, but instead of rushing up a finish, he's going to jump back into contact to draw the foul.
Wembyama again, and Wembyama did foul.
But at the same time, Wemby also had some really good individual defensive possessions. He's first going to press up here to take away the 3, to then swivel his hips and close off this drive towards the middle, to then also stay attached to this change of direction and step back, but he keeps going. As Steph gets rid of it, Wemby's then going to scramble through all these screens and handoffs, and finally on this ball screen he's going to recover and get back in front of Draymond, to then rotate across to alter this finish. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, might be the best defender of all time. And then even if Wemby wasn't involved in the main action, Curry was still able to force breakdowns on the ball. As he gets doubled here, he's just going to snap it across the green, and that gives the Warriors a 3-on-2 advantage. I like how they're going to use Horford here to space in the corner, and as Wemby helps on the cutter, he now has a wide open catch and shoot 3.
Horford's got an open 3. He got it!
Throughout this game, I also thought Curry looked really good off the dribble. He's about to turn 38 in 4 months, but his quickness off the bounce is still there. Look how he's going to skate with the ball back and forth, to then move horizontal with this behind the back, and this gets him outside of the defense's frame and sets up the straight line drive. He's going to hit a similar move here, but he now sets up the behind the back with an inside out. And as the ball travels to his right hand, look how he's going to skip to build up momentum into this drive. And while attacking hard to his right, he's got the control to pound the ball and separate to his strong hand for a step back. Along with that sticky handle and shooting, Curry can also sharply change direction, and that just makes him really difficult to deal with in open space. Devin Vassell here doesn't want to give him any breathing room to elevate, but Curry can use that leverage to work his way around him, and then it's right back to picking up and elevate into contact. This should have been 3 points, where Steph turns the corner off the screen, and he's going to snake it across to his left and then flow into a step back. And that's a really good look that he just misses. And then because of that one-on-one scoring, the Spurs became really reluctant to switch, but that would then force 2 on the ball, leading to more easy looks.
Podziemski open 3, bottoms!
Another way Steph was able to avoid Wemby was by just breaking free in transition, and this is where everything comes back to that ball control, balance, and shot making. Off the catch here, he's going to immediately attack to his left, to then bring that right foot forward and slam the brakes, and pop behind the line for a jumper. Steph scores here, but Wemby's defense was still nuts, where Curry is going to fill out towards the corner, and with his head underneath the basket, Victor still scrambles out and almost gets a piece of the shot. Now, the adjustment that San Antonio tried to make with Curry getting more usage with the ball was to match up Wemby with a non-shooter, to then pressure the ball and force him into all that size. But then Golden State went right back to activating him off the ball. It was just a bunch of pin downs, flare screens, and him breaking loose for more jumpers. And this is what really separates Steph from other superstars. I don't think there's anybody else across the league who can shoulder an offense out of pick and roll, plus be activated off the ball as an elite shooter and cutter.
Steph relocate, got a 3!
And that off-ball gravity really broke down the Spurs down the stretch. Victor here is scrambling out to stay attached to Steph on the screen, but that leaves him outside the paint and gives Green room to cut. We can see the same effect here where Wemby stunts out on this pin down, and the paint's now open for another cut. So Victor Wembanyama is obviously the best defender in the NBA, but in this game, Curry and Golden State did have more counters. And as an offensive piece, Steph can just break you in so many ways. He's still a really good scorer and shot creator in isolation. If you put 2 on the ball, he's going to make the right play. And that off-ball movement just bends the defense and creates countless of breakdowns.